right, welcome to Gun Owners Radio. We make activism easy. Welcome, everybody. This is show 447. I can't believe it's we've done that many shows, but welcome to Gun Owners Radio. Thank you so much for listening. Go to our website, go to gunownersradio.com, subscribe to our YouTube channel, share us with all your friends, comment, let everybody know what a great show we are, so that we can, bring the message out to everybody. Today we have Alicia, as always. Alicia, how are you?
Oh, doing great.
Fantastic. And of course, Dakota. Dakota's joining us today. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on. Me. Yeah, absolutely. We have a great show for you. We're going to talk about Trump and Attorney General Bondi. Are they supporting red flag laws? Well, stay tuned. You're going to find out. We're going to talk about AB 1333 and AB 1187. Both of these are absolutely a smack in the face of gun owners in California. We're going to tell you about just how horrible they are. And then there's a new way to invest in your passion. An ETF called GUNZ, G-U-N-Z. We're going to interview the guy that created that. And, of course, we have a curtain call. We're going to talk about a defensive gun use, and then we have some event opportunities that we're going to talk about. So stay tuned. It's going to be a great show.
All right. Gun Owners Radio is broadcasting from our new home at Discount Gun Mart. Check out DGM in San Diego on Marina, as well as in Santee off the 67 in Magnolia, over there in East County. So look up discountgunmart.com for more info.
You know we haven't talked about in a long time, Alicia?
What's that?
You know we haven't talked about in like months?
Spaghetti?
It's close. I was going to say food.
I know.
So the other day I tried for the first time. It has nothing to do with guns, and it's not on the agenda, but I'm going to talk about it. For the first time, I tried pho.
Wait, is it pho or is it pho?
I thought it was pho.
Or is it pho?
That's how impressed I was by it. I don't understand. Everybody out, you people love pho. Love it. Everybody's talking about it. It's all over the place. Finally, after, I don't know, a couple of decades of seeing people talk about how great it, oh my gosh, you got to try this pho. You got to try, oh my gosh. I finally tried it. It's soup, guys. It's not exciting. It's soup. It's soup you eat with chopsticks, which is extremely frustrating.
Do you like soup spicy, or do you like soup like tangy?
Honestly, I don't like soup.
Oh.
I don't like soup at all.
This isn't surprising that you didn't like soup
But
then.
yeah, I know, right? It's such a pain in the butt to eat soup. It's like this tiny little spoon, and you kind of it's such a pain eating soup. And then, to make it even more complicated, now you're eating soup with chopsticks. I'm like, really? I'm eating soup with... I don't understand it. But anyway, everybody's been so excited about pho. I finally tried it, and I don't know.
You know what that means?
What?
There's something you and Dave finally agree on.
That we don't like pho?
I'm sure Dave doesn't like it either.
Hey, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
If you don't like Vietnamese soup, does that make you Antifa? Is that...
That was good.
I know, right?
I wasn't expecting that.
Okay. All right, here we go. All right,
right.
You know what? Let's, what's the next?
It's that
The gun truth
of the week.
Okay, here we go. According to one academic paper published in 1995 out of Florida State University titled Armed Resistance to Crime, The Prevalence and Nature of Self-Defense with a Gun, women are responsible for 46.3% of the over 2.5 million annual defensive gun uses, and guns are used 205,000 times a year in the United States for the purpose of defending against sexual assault. I think it's
important to point out, too, that those are just numbers, the ones that were reported. I guarantee you there were a lot more that were never reported.
It is. Absolutely. And it's, the defensive gun use thing, where sometimes you see that people, there's 1 million defensive gun uses a year. Sometimes you see it's 3 million per year. This guy in FSU is the leading researcher. His last name's Kleck, K-L-E-C-K. And FSU has a great criminology department, which makes sense. If you're going to be in Florida, you better learn how to solve some crimes. But he says it's about 2.5 million. Of course, this is 1995, I want to point out, too.
Mm-hmm.
Back then, there were, the statistics were much different as far as women versus men and gun ownership. We've seen a huge increase in women buying guns in the last few years. So even more surprising that it was nearly half.
I'll bet that has improved. But anyway, I wanted to point that out. It is your gun truth of the week. Okay, you have Q's, I have A's. People email and send messages all week, and so I try to answer the questions here so that everybody can hear. I figure if one person's asking, a lot of people are asking. This is kind of an interesting one. It's kind of a personal one, I guess, but not that personal. But someone asked me what podcasts I listen to. Well, of course, I listen to Gun Owners Radio over and over and over again. I love Gun Owners Radio. But honestly, what they were asking really was, hey, what are some other good podcasts that I listen to? And I thought I would explain, I don't really listen to, I'm not really loyal to any podcasts. If I listen to podcasts, I'm usually researching a particular subject. Something will come up, some kind of, political subject or something like that. I'll go do a search for it, and then I'll listen to 2 or 3 different podcasts on that subject. Someone being interviewed on it or something like that. Or I listen to podcasts I don't agree with. Honestly, my favorite is I like Anna Kasparian from the Young Turks. I don't agree with a word she says. She and I have nothing in common. But I don't like sitting in an echo chamber. I want to hear, hey, someone who disagrees with me. What are they thinking? Why are they thinking that? So I enjoy that a lot. I like listening to podcasts that I disagree with, and I think the most common one I listen to is probably Young Turks and or anywhere Anna Kasparian is interviewed, because she's very well researched. And like I said, even if I completely disagree, that's why I listen to hers, because I completely disagree, and I think that's a lot more interesting. Second Amendment, pure Second Amendment, Copper Jacket. That guy's great. We had him on, last week? And
Right.
William from Copper Jacket is wonderful. The Four Boxes Diner with Mark Smith, wonderful. And then Guns and Gadgets. Those are the 3 most common Second Amendment specific. What do you guys? Do you have a favorite?
I listen to a lot of primary and secondary. They've got a lot of good stuff related to all sorts of things: use of force, firearms, modifications to guns, all sorts of things. And then there's an older podcast called Guns Guide to Liberals that's about how to have communication with folks that are across the aisle from you in the gun debate. And I think they do a really good job of breaking down communication and arguments that you can make, and how to really get somebody to see your viewpoint, even if they're not going to come all the way over to your side.
I agree. What about you? What do you like?
Lately, I have nothing of value. I tend to kind of have an ebb and flow to where I listen to where things have substance and value. Presently, right now, I've been kind of stuck in Donut Operator and Brendan Herrera.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What do you like about it lately? Recently?
It's just it's something that I enjoy spending time in. Just kind of let my brain shut down for a little bit. If you've never watched Donut Operator, have you ever watched him, Dakota?
Yeah,
Okay.
I like him a lot.
He does not hold back. He is honest. He is very politically incorrect. So if you're sensitive, I would not recommend you take a moment to watch him.
I can be sensitive.
You can be. I know. And so he just, you know how we have Active Self-Protection shows some great use of force videos, great things from self-defense perspective.
Yeah.
Kind of breaks down learning opportunities. So Donut Operator, he's all about from the law enforcement side, kind of showing. And he's not. He was prior law enforcement himself, but he's not pro law enforcement. Sometimes he really shows videos where they were wrong, and he will blast them for being wrong.
And
So I
doesn't he
appreciate
have
that.
Donut Operator? If I remember correctly, he has a wonderful mustache, right?
Yes, he does.
I mean, like Tom Selleck quality mustache.
He does. He's
So-
very. I don't know how old he is, but he looks very young.
Yeah,
he's
he
got a
does look
military
young.
career and law enforcement career. I don't know how old he is, but he looks very young. He's very honest, and I appreciate that.
So there you go. There's the podcast that we recommend. Like I said, I really truly, Dakota, I think it's a great idea watching, somebody on the other side on how to talk to folks. I really think that if you're gonna sharpen your wits, if you really, really, truly, if you just want to sit there in an echo chamber and just kind of, I agree with everything this person's saying. I get it. It feels like a nice warm blanket, but I highly encourage you to find people that you disagree with and listen to them and figure out, okay, what is making this person tick? So, okay, next question. Do President Trump and Attorney General Bondi support red flag laws and specifically gun violence restraining orders? Okay, so there's a video that got all popular, went viral this past week, and it was sent to me about 487 times.
That's it?
And usually it was just kind of a, they didn't like explain. It wasn't like, hey, Mike, I was wondering, they just kind of sent it to me. It was just like, yeah, look at this. Like, kind of in a snotty kind of manner.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
They must not have been listening like 2 months ago when we first talked about it.
We did talk about it, but I wanted to go into depth and make sure everybody understood. So the video they're talking about is from 2018. It's Trump sitting next to Attorney General Bondi. She wasn't the Attorney General at the time. She was... in 2018, was she the Attorney General of Florida, or was she actually working for the administration? In any case, she's explaining to President Trump basically, let's take a look. She's talking about gun violence restraining orders.
And we are going to bring in something called the gun violence restraining order. So if someone is civilly committed, typically you can hold them for up to 72 hours, but people are getting out within 24 hours, the majority of them. So what we want to do is let law enforcement come in and take the guns.
Good.
They're a danger to themselves
Which you can't
or
do
others.
right now.
Well, without being adjudicated. So because they're a danger to themselves.
You want them to take the guns and
when they are
not
committed.
go through 6 months of legal trials and everything else,
Exactly,
which is-
but we
okay.
also have to give the mentally ill the due process in which they deserve, President. So what we're doing is they're going to be able to take the guns when they're taken into custody or into the hospital, and then when they're released, within 24 hours or 72 hours later, typically it's 24 hours, but law enforcement will have 72 hours to determine whether they should give those guns back, or they can go to a judge and say, Your Honor, please keep these guns. We feel this person is still a danger to himself or others.
So if you notice from the clip and the questions he's asking, gun violence restraining orders were very new in 2018, and they clearly weren't describing what gun violence restraining orders have turned into. And the clip that's gone viral, I showed the entire clip here, but the clip that's gone viral doesn't show the entire conversation. And Trump keeps asking, like, well, that's something you can't do now, right? That's something you can't do now. Well, that's not what gun violence restraining orders turned into. They've turned into this standard operating procedure anytime a gun's involved, never intended to be that. And this clip is actually kind of proof positive. So, so first off, that clip is not, current. They both work, together now, but it was from 2018, which 2018 was 7 years ago already. 7 years ago.
By the way, from 2011 to 2019, she was the Florida Attorney General.
Okay, so she was the Florida Attorney, that's right. She was the Florida Attorney General, and she was explaining, hey, here's what we're looking at in Florida. Now, I don't know where they stand now. I don't know where either or both of them stand on red flag laws, on gun violence restraining orders. My hope is that they have seen what we have seen, that these gun violence restraining orders are not good, and they are being severely abused. But I can't really find anything current, but I did find a clip that I think is a lot more relevant when it comes to how she's going to be as an attorney general with the Second Amendment. So let's play that clip.
But we also, yesterday, I fired the general counsel from ATF. These people were targeting gun owners. Not going to happen under this administration. And so we're looking to hire really great people. Sitting on my desk right now are all the list of the names of the U.S. attorneys who we're going to bring in. So are we going to fix it? Absolutely. Is it going to take a while? Not as long as people think. Great.
So, do I trust politicians? No. Are those just words? Well, they're words, but you know what? She fired some people, and we actually talked about that last week. I mean, those were actions that she actually took. So I have a lot of faith. So I don't know, Alicia, what do you think?
I think she's putting herself out there, and she's putting herself out there with some conviction. I think that I'm very hopeful. I think that if she did not have intention to follow through with what she's claiming, then I think she might be a little bit more soft or cryptic.
Yeah.
But I feel like she's strong and she's out there, so I feel good about it.
Yep.
Yeah,
Right.
She was super direct. I like it. I like the concept. I like where she's going with it.
Yeah, and J.D. Vance actually did some. He was giving a talk at in front of a religious group. Geez, I don't remember what it is. There are people that are listening to this that are yelling at me right now because it was actually it was like anyway. It was a bunch of religious leaders, and he was very clear about his Second Amendment views, which is really, really good. So I have a lot of faith. I have a lot of faith. Are they going to screw up? I can't guarantee they're not going to screw up. But so far in the, in his first term and in the month it's been in his second term, the reality is Donald Trump is the most pro Second Amendment president, at least in modern times, maybe since the founders. Now that is both a statement on how well he is doing and how horrible all the other presidents have been on the Second Amendment. So keep the faith. Of course, the American experiment of, being self-governed is not a spectator sport. So we got to stay on top of it. So there you go. But anyway.
Really quickly, he spoke at both the International Religious Freedom Summit as well as a National Catholic Prayer Breakfast.
Yeah. Kind of important.
That's it.
Kind of something I should have remembered the name of. So anyway. But the important thing is that clip that's gone viral, that is all your friends are putting in your inbox because they know you're a gun fanatic. It's from 2018, so disregard it. And I wanted to make sure everybody understood. So there you go. All right, let's talk about lawsuits.
All right, this segment is our legal and legislative segment, where we tell you what you need to know from the courts and from the legislators themselves. But remember, I'm not a lawyer, neither is Mike or Dakota. We are not here to give you legal advice, and all legal advice should come from a properly licensed California lawyer. Our sponsor, John Dillon, is a lawyer. John has been helping more and more people to fight those GVROs, and those are the gun violence restraining orders. If you or somebody you know has had their self-defense rights taken away without due process, give John a call. His website is dillonlawgp.com, and his phone number is 760-642-7150.
California is making it illegal to defend yourself. Can California even do that? How vulnerable is this going to leave you, your family, and your loved ones? If you can't defend yourself, what will happen to you? Let's take a closer look. So what exactly is happening? Well, an assembly bill in California has been introduced. It's AB 1333. It was introduced by an assemblyman out of L.A. I believe his last name is pronounced Zbur, Z-B-U-R. And if you take a look at some of the, basically what it says is, California, I've long said this, California has actually had some really good self-defense laws. Castle Doctrine, Stand Your Ground, that's been a part of California penal code for a long time. And the anti-gunners went after guns. They didn't go after these laws. Well, now they're coming for these laws. And they basically, the author said that, because of what's happening with the Bruin case, because the Supreme Court came out and said, yeah, this is an individual right, that he wants to make sure that people don't just start shooting people. And, basically he's taking your right to self-defense away in one bill. And I want to bring up his tweet on the subject. Can we show that? Where he says, and it's pretty telling, AB 1333 was never intended to limit a crime victim's right to defend yourself, your family, or your home. That's a lie. It's exactly what it does. The goal is to prevent wannabe vigilantes like Kyle Rittenhouse from provoking violence and claiming self-defense after the fact. We will amend the bill to make this crystal clear. Let's start with that last sentence. They're probably going to amend the bill, and they're probably going to put language in there to try to make it crystal clear, but it's not going to actually change the functionality of the bill. The bill is still going to basically... you're going to have to, if your life is in danger, you're going to have to quickly process and make sure, well, is there a way for me to escape? Can I get out of here right now? And then, it's basically getting rid of your ability to defend yourself. The goal is to prevent wannabe vigilantes like Kyle Rittenhouse from provoking violence and claiming self-defense. What's kind of off about that statement?
Well, it's interesting because a jury found that Kyle Rittenhouse did, in fact, act in self-defense. So,
that's right.
Strange.
And we already have laws in the books that if you're the instigator, you're the escalator. It's already not justified. How is this?
That's exactly right, too. This tweet is a complete and total lie. Mm-hmm. First off, Rittenhouse was fleeing. He was actually trying to get away in every situation, and was found... that he was absolutely well within the laws of self-defense. He did not provoke. He was trying to get away, and everything he did was absolutely self-defense, and a court of law says exactly that. So that's what he says. That's where it's coming from. Now, I want to show the Everytown tweet. Everytown, if you're not familiar, is an anti-gun group. They do not like your Second Amendment rights. Everytown says that California needs to make it harder to claim self-defense now that the Bruin decision caused more people to get carry permits. And then they have a little graphic up there. We will end gun violence in America. California moms demand action, students demand action, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
It's interesting that they're putting self-defense and the concept of carry permits as a negative. If you read the screenshot, it says gun violence. What about self-defense is gun violence?
Yeah, well, I completely agree. I mean, they're absolutely making sure that the person trying to kill you is protected, and that you are far less protected.
This is right up there with that bill that decriminalized theft up to a certain dollar amount.
Yeah, exactly right. But I just can't believe, the Supreme Court reaffirming the fact that you have a natural right to self-defense, and that's why you can own a self-defense tool. That's somehow bad, and that people need to be protected. In this situation, criminals need to be protected from folks that are just trying to defend themselves, especially after that quote. I think that the gun quote of the week that we did, where 205,000 times each year a gun is used to defend against sexual assault. 46.3% of the defensive gun uses every year are a woman. And so this guy is with AB 1333 is making it harder for women. That's who this is going to affect the most, according to statistics. He's going to make it harder for them to defend themselves.
I'm reading through the verbiage of what they're proposing to change.
Yep.
And they're essentially turning us into a duty to retreat state.
That's exactly
It's
what
a
it
duty
is.
to retreat.
Yeah,
so
it says you have to exhaust every reasonable
Correct.
means to escape danger. It's like, well, that's potentially a very challenging thing to do in the heat of the moment when you are in fear of your life.
Well, just what you'd want to do, Dakota, is just right when the attack is happening and you're in fear for your life, you just want to call timeout real quick. Just time out. Yeah, pause. Hold on. Let me see,
Yeah.
Is there a window open or around that I could break quickly before you shoot me in the back with the gun you're pointing at me? Crazy.
Right. But the reality is, I mean, all this is doing is opening up, this is just making for bad law. If someone can escape, I mean, we've all been through tons of classes. And we're taught, just like everybody who gets a carry permit is taught, that the only fight you win is the one that you don't get in.
De-escalation, escape, and avoid are already taught.
Already
recommended.
So the idea that for some reason they need to, put this into law, all it really is doing is it's making their usual tactic. Gun owners are the bad guys, and we want to protect criminals, and it's all a cultural thing.
Well, and they're parroting laws that are already on the books. It's already required for you to use just the level of force reasonably necessary.
That's
but
another section of the bill, right?
Add this in when the person used more force than was reasonably necessary to defend against danger. Homicide is no longer justifiable. It's like, well, it's already not justifiable in that case, so we don't need another bill on the books that says the same thing.
There you go. Sheriff Bianco spoke out on this. He did a short video, and I thought he did a great job talking about it, both in letter and spirit. So let's play that clip real quick.
Hello, California. Riverside County Sheriff Chad Bianco. For more than a decade, the leadership in Sacramento has literally tied the hands of law enforcement and made it almost impossible for us to protect you. Now, they are coming after you and your ability to protect yourself. Under a new bill, AB 1333, by California Assembly Member from Santa Monica, Rick Chavez Spur, you will no longer be allowed to protect yourself when confronted by violent criminals. Under this bill, if a criminal attacks you or your family and you defend yourself, and that criminal dies as a result of his criminal behavior, you could be arrested and charged with murder. Now let me make this very, very clear. You have a constitutional and a God-given right to protect yourself. You actually have that right under California law. But our California Democrat leadership and Assemblymember Spur say no, you don't. It is time we stand up to this insanity in Sacramento. I am asking all of you to contact your local elected officials in Sacramento and tell them that this bill needs to be removed from the Assembly floor. Contact Assemblymember Spur's office and demand this bill be removed. Californians deserve far better than what we are getting from our Democrat leadership and our Assembly members and senators in Sacramento. We demand better. We deserve better.
There you go. Awesome. So there you go. It's not just some guy on a podcast, saying, gee, golly gosh, the sky is falling. That's a professional law enforcement sheriff. He's got a career behind him, and he agrees. So AB 1333, watch this thing progress. It is so extreme. I just can't imagine that it's going to pass. But if nobody does anything, then bad things happen. So we got to make the phone calls, make the emails, do all the stuff that needs to happen. There you go, AB 1333. Okay. Has California finally found a way to prevent non-gun owners from becoming gun owners? Have they finally figured out how to make it so difficult that people will just give up and not even try? Well, pricing people out seems to be their latest tactic. So let's take a look. AB 1187 was introduced. And I didn't think that this was going to be a big year for anti-gun legislation, but man, it sure has turned into a big year for gun legislation. So what are they trying to do? And that's always the challenge. I always try to think, well, what are they going to do next? The big piece, there's AB 1187 does a few things, but the big thing it does, and they're not real clear on specifics yet, but basically to buy a gun, you have to complete an 8-hour course. And an 8-hour course is, Alicia, how much is an 8-hour course these days?
Oh, it depends on where you're going, but I'd say anywhere from $200 to $400.
$200 to $400
At the very least.
Slapped on your the price of a gun. This hurts people. There are a lot of people out there that I think are trying to decide, hey, is this the way I want to go? There are a lot of people out there that, frankly, have to save up just in order to afford a firearm. Our Not Me organization, we've actually helped people with grants and discounts, and so that they can actually afford self-defense. Well, putting an additional $200 to $400 and making sure that people have to take a day off work, possibly or whatever, they have to spend 8 hours in a class, is going to ensure that fewer people are going to be able to effectively defend themselves. Now, there's also a piece of this within 60 days after bringing any firearm into the state, a personal firearm importer shall do the following: submit to the Department of Justice in a form and manner prescribed by the department, report including information concerning that individual, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Basically, they're saying that if you bring a gun into California, that within 60 days you have to register it. That's already a thing.
Sorry, I would say it's already a thing.
That's already a law. I think the reason that they put this kind of stuff in there is they kind of do these softballs, like, oh, well, gee, we just want people to register their firearm when they come into California. And then they don't have to talk about the really bad part, which is, oh, we want to charge everybody who wants to buy a gun an extra $200 to $400.
I'll say I'm not against training, but I don't like that they're requiring it.
Totally agree.
I would highly advise everybody get that training, but it's wrong for them to require it.
I totally agree. And, the reality is, and we talked about this, this kind of goes back to the open carry thing, when we were talking about open carry, or when we were talking about no training for CCWs, when we were talking about open carry, whatever. The reality is, it's not the government's place to restrict and require, and, the government's place is to defend your individual rights, your natural rights, your God-given rights, your, nature's God, whatever. Your natural rights are yours. The government's job is not to step in and tell you how you can't exercise those rights. The government's job is to protect those rights, and this is the exact opposite.
Gotta stay in their lane.
Yeah. What do you think, Dakota?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm 100% on board with with any sort of training that somebody wants to do. And if you want to recommend a friend get a training or something, that's great. But for the government to require it is crazy, especially because we're already putting so many additional costs on law-abiding citizens who want to get firearms. We've got the 11% tax. We've got all these other things, all these hoops to jump through already. And then if you think about CCW classes, all of the costs associated with that. So just to exercise your right to carry a gun and protect your life, you're already probably getting close to $1,000 in the hole, for maybe even more than that at this point, for a affordable firearm and the required training. So to add another $200 to $400 on it would definitely price people out. I think we've seen something similar to this in Illinois, and they did see decreases in gun purchases based on that, and it's unfortunate.
No doubt. So that's AB 1187. We don't know a lot. You can find the text online. It could change. It might change a dozen times before they vote on it in the fall. So what do you do now? Well, you have to get involved, and by the time a bill is introduced, there's very little you can do. You can call your assembly folks, you can call your state senators, voice your opinion. But honestly, by the time somebody makes it to Sacramento, they've already got their mind made up. So what we want you to do is get involved now. Help us create an even bigger community, a bigger Second Amendment community. We're teaching people to shoot. We're manning tabletops. We're getting involved in different campaigns. That's how you prevent this. By the time it's introduced in Sacramento, it's almost too late. There's so little you can do to be effective. So don't just sit there and watch AB 1187 for the next 8 months and, hey, they just crossed this out and they just dotted this I and they just changed this, and that's not activism. Keep an eye on it. We'll keep you informed by all means, but, get involved. Help us get the right people elected. Help us prevent this bad stuff from happening. So that's AB 1187. Your Second Amendment rights are not second-class rights. The Fifth Circuit Court reaffirms what we already know. We've actually talked about this case before. This is FPC, who, God, man, I got to tell you, FPC, I have so much admiration for FPC. These guys have stepped up so hardcore in the last 10 years, and they have filed a lot of real serious cases, and they have a lot of serious wins, and this is the latest. This is Lara, L-A-R-A, Lara versus Pennsylvania is really what it is. This is challenging Pennsylvania's law that prevents 18, 19, and 20-year-old adults from carrying. And they finally won. Now, the interesting thing about this is what happened is they decided, hey, we're not going to hear this en banc. We're not going to take this any further. The latest was that it's unconstitutional, and that's where it's going to end. The other interesting thing is the Attorney General, the one that was trying to advance this, the one that was trying to get the unconstitutional decision overturned, was a Republican in Pennsylvania. And Pennsylvania tends to be, outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania is a very pro-Second Amendment state. And everybody tells me the Republicans are pro-Second Amendment. Okay, if that's what you say. But I got to tell you, the one thing to remember is, yes, out of the two major parties, the Republicans tend to be our friends more often. But you have to always remember that the Republican Party is not a pro-Second Amendment organization. They're there to win seats no matter what it takes. So for whatever reason, this Attorney General decided that he wanted to try to get the unconstitutional ruling overturned, and the courts said no. So this is huge. There's a lot of reasons. Like I said, they were trying to go to an en banc. It was requested by the Attorney General. The court said, nope, we're not going to take it. The Fifth Circuit has spoken, and 18, 19, and 20-year-olds have the right to keep and bear arms. The Second Amendment applies to adults. They're Americans. The government is here to protect their rights. So there you go. This is very, very cool. Again, what it's saying is that the Second Amendment is not a second-class right. It's not some dangerous thing that we have to apologize for. And adults are adults. Once you reach the age of majority, boom, you get all the rights that are afforded an American, and they should be protected by your government. Interestingly, Congress has actually just introduced a bill that they want to tie your ability to own a gun to your ability to vote. So basically, if you're eligible to vote, then you're going to be eligible to own a gun, which means that if you're 18, 19, and 20 years old, that you're going to be able to own a firearm at the federal level and no longer be illegal. The interesting thing about that is that bill is like a page and a half long. All they're doing is striking out the section of federal law that says that an 18, 19, and 20-year-old adult can't own a firearm, which is very, very cool. I got to tell you, I listen to candidates talk all the time. They're running for this, they're running for that. They stand in somebody's living room or in front of a podium or whatever, and they tell you what they are going to do. They're going to go up to Sacramento, and this is what they're going to do. They're going to pass this law. They're going to pass that law. I like politicians that tell me what laws they're going to eliminate. When they get to Sacramento and they get to Washington, D.C., what laws that aren't working are you going to eliminate? Not what bureaucracy and red tape are you going to add to my life, but what are you going to take away? And this is a perfect example of that. So I'm really glad that the Fifth Circuit Court is standing up for the rights of adults, and I'm glad to see that Congress potentially is following suit. So what do you guys think? Anything?
I think it's great that, Pennsylvania is not the only state that limits to carry to 21 and up, and constitutionally as well as permitted. So got a few more states to go, but that's great.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. If you're going to have all the other rights of an adult, why can't you protect your own life?
Well, and this is the Fifth Circuit, and then we actually have a case. It started out as the Jones case, and I'm embarrassed. I can't remember. What's happening is our case to restore Second Amendment rights for 18, 19, and 20-year-olds. It's taking so long that
Your plaintiffs have aged out.
they age out. So it started out with Jones, and I forget who's in there now. But I got to tell you, we're actually getting to the point where we might have to find another 18, 19, or 20-year-old here in California so we can continue that case.
I've got a 17-year-old.
17? Well, when do they turn 18?
September.
All right. Well, let's talk. We need to talk. Anyway, that is all you need to know this week about lawsuits and about legislation. Okay, we're going to talk to a really interesting guy about a possible investment that you may be interested in. This segment is sponsored by Cargo, cases and rugged gear outfitters in El Cajon. Their website is cargostores.com, and they're at 423 Broadway in El Cajon. If you need to protect your gear while you're on the go, look no further. Cargo has the perfect case for you. So if you need it protected, if you want it customized, Cargo's the place to go. Use code GOR to get 10% off their website, or mention Gun Owners Radio or SDCGO in their store, and you'll also get 10% off there. If you're a manufacturer, they also do customized branded cases for businesses too, so check them out. Great products, great prices, and uncommonly good service. Cases and rugged gear outfitters. That's Cargo in El Cajon. Check them out. So you love guns and you love self-defense, but have you thought about investing in your passion? We found a way that you may be able to do that, and it actually is doing really, really well. So we went right to the source to find out exactly how this works. There's an ETF that goes by the ticker GUNZ, or GUNZ. And if you don't know what an ETF is or what a ticker is, then you've come to the right show. We're going to talk all about that. Our guest is Matthew Tuttle with Tuttle Capital, and we're going to talk about GUNZ, GUNZ, the brand new ETF that just came out in September, right?
That is correct.
Welcome to the show, Matthew. Thank you so much for coming on and answering our questions. I think this is fascinating. The first question is, what's an ETF?
All right. So ETF stands for Exchange Traded Fund, which means it is a fund that's traded on an exchange. It owns a whole bunch of stocks, and you can buy it and sell it all day, every day, as much as you want through just about any brokerage platform out there. We really look at, ETFs as an access vehicle, a way to access a group of stocks. So, in the case of what we're talking about, a group of stocks in the self-defense industry.
That's interesting. Okay, so functionally, this thing looks and acts and talks just like any other individual stock.
Correct.
But it's not just one company. It's actually made up of a basket of companies that have to do with defense
That exactly right. So
and firearms too, right? There's some firearm stocks in there.
So
as well.
we focus on lethal and non-lethal defense.
Nice. What's an example of something? What's a holding that GUNZ has that our listeners have probably heard of?
Smith and Wesson.
I've heard of it. Yeah.
Yep. Sturm Ruger is another one there, and then Palantir. I mean, that's been in the news a lot lately. Don't know whether they would have heard of Axon or not. That's the old taser company, but they're up and coming as well. I think those are the main kind of above the radar screen names that people would know. And then we've got a whole bunch of names they probably don't, but in my belief, they should.
Well, so in those stocks, they may or may not change, right? Or it's not permanent. You guys may actually find a stock that's better suited or more representative or better performing and switch it in and out. Is that accurate?
That could happen. Yeah. I mean, we're not going to switch out a lot of things. We recently added Evolve, EVLV. It's a smaller company. They're up and coming. When the fund launched, they really weren't big enough. Their financials weren't set enough for us to add it, but we added it a couple of months ago. And I think that's a great one.
And the idea is, there are different sectors. There's energy or even more specific oil, or there's tech, or even more specific than tech, there might be internet. And this is a sector of the economy that's self-defense or defense. And what you've tried to do is get a bunch of companies that are have a bright future and are representative of that sector of the economy. So if it's something that you're either passionate about and you want to invest in your passion, or you just think, hey, you know what, 2025, the way the world's going these days, defense is going to become even more important, and people are going to have to sink even more money into making sure that they're well defended in all different ways. Did I describe that accurately?
Yeah. So I'll add to that a little bit. So I'm an ETF issuer, but I'm also a very active investor. We've got an investment philosophy that we teach people, and it's called the HEAT formula. I mean, I don't need to get into all the aspects, but the T stands for themes. So I think most of what Wall Street teaches people about investing is wrong. And what people should really focus on is what are today's most important themes and what are tomorrow's most important themes. And self-defense is one of those under the radar screen themes that people aren't thinking about, but these stocks are moving up because people are not feeling safe. I mean, one of my kids lives in New York City. She has mace. She has a taser. She's had to hide before on the street. I've got another kid in Chicago. He's got mace. He's got a taser. They shouldn't have to have those things, but I couldn't imagine having my kids live in those cities and not need it. So, this whole sector, industry, whatever you want to call it, is under the radar screen. People aren't talking about it. But if you've got traditional types of investments, you're not going to have exposure to these names. And I really think you should.
I think that if when I say it's 2025, so of course defense is important. I think everybody projects onto that statement what's going through their head, what they've experienced, what they've read and seen on the news. But what made you, what was the decision-making process that you thought, the defense sector, this sector of the economy is going to be important? Like, what are some of the factors that drove you to come up with GUNZ?
Yeah, so I've trained my brain to think thematically. I read the news, I see things, I talk to people, and I'm always thinking, what's the investment opportunity here? And, like I said, having a kid in New York City who's had to hide, seeing what's going on, during the Biden administration with gangs and crime going up and up, shoplifting not being a crime anymore, going into a drugstore and having everything locked up. It was really all of those things that made me realize this is an area people really want to have exposure to.
I don't think a lot of people know that you can invest in, names that they've heard of in the gun industry, like Smith and Wesson and Ruger. I don't think that occurs to people, and this is a way that you can get both.
Because in the normal Wall Street investments, they're not going to be in there. Wall Street hates this stuff. So me getting this fund out, I was censored. I mean, it took, so yeah, we launched it in September, but that was like 2 years of work to get to that point. Custodians wouldn't touch it. All the different service providers you need for an ETF wouldn't touch it. The exchange, which I will remain nameless, told me, hey, Matt, normally when you do a press release, the exchange wants to be in there. They told me, you do a press release, you do anything, don't mention us.
Wow.
That's why.
Changing the culture in this, industry is so important. And here's an example of one of the many examples of why. I remember about 25 years ago, like the early 2000s, there were, I forget the term, but they would put together these funds that were socially responsible funds.
Oh yeah.
Where they wouldn't have any companies that were sold alcohol or tobacco or whatever. It was kind of the original. It was the original. What do you call it when you project your value? What's
virtue signal.
Virtue signal. It was like it was the original virtue signaling before that term existed, and it was your way to virtue signal in your investment portfolio. Is this kind of like that? Is this the same thing or not really?
So it's the pushback that I got on this is the same type of thing. Wall Street loves, and it's called ESG. They love ESG. It's a way for the big guys, BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard, to exert control. So anything non-ESG is basically censored. Hopefully that is changing. The SEC under Trump is an entirely different SEC. You've got people who were all the way one way now moving the other way, but it's all part of the same phenomenon. And again, hopefully over this next 4 years, that'll change and investing will go back to what it should be, which is about making money.
I was going to say values quickly go out the window when it's underperforming. I mean, people are still investing for a reason. I remember distinctly that those funds that eliminated the sinful companies, they didn't do real well. They didn't outperform.
Well, that's the insidious problem. So back, in the 90s, we had what were called socially responsible investments.
There you go.
And the performance stunk. But you could make that choice. What happened over the past couple of years is everything became socially responsible. BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard were forcing companies to sacrifice profits for politics. And, and that would hurt returns. And, you'd see it on like the Bud Light stuff and things like that. I am hopeful that is changing. I don't mind having socially responsible investments. You can make a choice. I'll give up returns and I won't invest in alcohol and, tobacco and oil and firearms, or I'm going to try to make as much money as I can. And if there are things that are important to me, I'll use some of that money to express my values.
But what it sounds like this wasn't just a matter of, this is what I like, so I'm going to make a bundle of stocks out of it. Sounds like you identified an area that hasn't been exploited yet and said, hey, you know what? No one's talking about this, these different companies that are, defending life, and that clearly they're going to get a a rush of revenue here as the world changes and becomes a different place. So yeah, it may represent someone's values, but it also sounds like, well, no, actually, this thing's more than just a value move. You know, it's more than just virtue signaling, you know, from the other side of the political aisle. It sounds like you said, hey, these stocks are going to do really, really well, and this sector is something that people are not paying enough attention to.
Where you make the best money as an investor is finding themes before other people do.
Yeah.
So like the dominant theme out there right now is AI and, you know, NVIDIA and things like that. And yeah, if you're a long-term investor, I think NVIDIA is a must own, but the easy money has been made. You know, you saw it with NVIDIA's earnings yesterday. They had amazing earnings and they got crushed. You know, the AI trade, a lot of that easy money has been made. What I want to do is I want to identify, hey, what's an under the radar screen area? Yeah, so I don't believe investing according to your values. I want to make money. And I think this is an area people aren't talking about. And I think eventually they're going to realize, oh, wow, look at these names, look at what's going on. And, you know, and it's also, you know, again, all right, yeah, we're deporting some of those gangs, but we've also got drone stocks in here. You're going to need drones at the border. If we're going to fight the Mexican cartels, that's going to be a drone war. You know, just trying to think, all right, what's likely to happen and what aren't people thinking about yet? That's where you make the best money.
So if I wanted to invest in, one share of a stock, I would have to pay that full price for that stock. But with your ETF, how does that profit side of things work? Let's say I don't have the $500 to buy a share of Smith & Wesson, but I could invest in GUNZ for a fraction of that cost. So how do you make money in this?
So we make money based on assets under management. If you buy one share, we're not making any money, but I still want you to buy that one share because I think this is something that belongs in your portfolio.
So you guys actually manage GUNZ, but you can buy GUNZ, GUNZ, anywhere. You can buy it online through your online broker. You can buy it through your financial advisor.
Just about anywhere. Now, the big brokerage firms, if you're like at a Merrill Lynch or a Morgan Stanley, probably not. You'd have to ask. My guess would be the answer would be no. But if you're, a discount brokerage firm, Schwab, TD Ameritrade, Fidelity, Webull, Robinhood, guys like that, no problem. But the big brokerage firms, they restrict what you can buy, and this is certainly not on their approved list.
Gotcha. Well, cool, man. This actually sounds very interesting. I'm very fascinated by it. I, of course, love the ticker, GUNZ. I think that's awesome. I thought our listeners would be super interested in this. What else would you like everybody to know about GUNZ? What do you really want to make sure people walk away with, or is there anything we haven't covered?
Yeah, again, I just think there's so many different aspects that are going to become more and more important. Obviously, the non-lethal stuff. Like, again, I can't imagine my kids not having mace and tasers, home alarms. That's another area, like, all sorts of break-ins. You can't not have a home alarm. And now you've got a very pro Second Amendment president administration in. So you don't have like that overhang that the gun stocks might have had over the past 4 years. You've got the drone stuff in here. And then you've got all the technology where, they've got technology to detect gunshots and know where they are. They've got, all sorts of screening technology. And, Trump, yeah, he may be a law and order president. He may be getting all the gangs out of here, but that's not happening tomorrow. And, how do you find them all? And, crime is not, they let a genie out of the bottle. It's not going away. People are going to be buying these products and these stocks are going to continue to do well. And, again, this is going to be something entirely different than anything else you have in your portfolio.
And it definitely feels like people are far more comfortable and more proactive about buying defense items for their home or carrying pepper spray. It feels like these days, just about anybody. I mean, it's totally normal. You know, it's getting way more normal to own a gun. It's extremely normal to carry pepper spray. You know, all these different home defense products. It's becoming more and more mainstream, and I can't imagine that's not going to slow down. That's going to continue to.
No, I don't think. You know, you see statistics. More and more women are buying guns. More and more liberals are buying guns. You know, it's becoming more and more and more of a mainstream thing to do, and I don't think that's going to. Unfortunately, I don't think that's going to change. I mean, I wish we lived in a society where it's like, excuse me, why would I need a gun?
Yeah.
But I mean, we don't, and you know, we're not going to. So, yeah, you need.
There you go. If people want more information on GUNZ, GUNZ specifically, the new ETF, where do you recommend they go?
So a couple places. The ETF website is GUNZ, GUNZ, ETF.com. Our website is TuttleCap.com. We also have a daily newsletter that'll pop up on there where, you know, we talk about different themes and things like that if anyone's interested. So those are the best places to go.
Great. So GUNZETF.com or TuttleCap.com.
Correct.
Great. Matt Tuttle from Tuttle Capital talking about a brand new ETF that you put together, GUNZ, GUNZ. Really, really appreciate you coming and shedding some light on it. I think it's fascinating. I think it's very, very cool. So thank you so much.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thanks. Let's do curtain call. Every week we find a defensive gun use situation that's hit the news, and we get Alicia Curtin to analyze it, and we call it curtain call. So without further ado, looks like this week, a man shot and killed after forcing entry into ex's home in Harris County. Is that right?
That's it.
Okay, what happened?
So I got to be honest, when I first saw the heading, I thought it was a repeat of last week, and I thought, oh, this is the old link. No, it happened again.
It's a whole new thing.
It's a whole new thing. So this article comes from concealnation.org. And as you stated, we have an ex who found his way into his ex's home in Harris County. So this article is recent. This is February 18th is the date of the article. So this is not an old story. This is recent. So not too dissimilar to our story of last week. We have yet another gentleman, and he was a 38-year-old man. His name was Wilbert Tays, and he decided to make his way into his ex. It just says ex. We don't know if it's a wife or a girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
Made his way into his ex's home. But what went different than last time? Remember, if you recall, last time we had the ex and then a friend were in the home. Okay,
yeah.
This time we had it sounds like it was nighttime. This gentleman kicked his way into the door, and once he was in, he had a confrontation with the woman's son. So this was a grown son. The son was 24 years old, so he was a grown man. And he had a confrontation, and he then assaulted the 24-year-old son, and that son decided to defend himself. He pulled out a firearm, took some shots, doesn't detail how many shots were taken.
How old's the son?
The son was 24.
Okay.
And the ex that broke in was 38. No mention of, not that it matters, but no mention of the other age of the other party. And so what we have here is this 24-year-old pulled a firearm within his own home to defend himself. And as a result, the 38-year-old was whisked away and taken to the hospital, where he later did die. So he did not survive.
And it doesn't say anything about charges or anything like that for the 24-year-old?
It does mention it. It mentions that charges, let me read, I want to get it verbatim, I don't want to mix it up. It honestly, given that this was out of Texas, I honestly expected it to be much different than what they state. At this time, authorities have not determined whether the shooter will face charges. So no charges. However, I got to be honest. Yeah. Out of Texas, I fully expected it to say no charges will be filed.
Yeah, really?
Right. So I was honestly surprised to say it's not determined at this time. So no charges as of now. But I thought it was interesting that they were vague, as that it could be in the future. Sheriff Ed Gonzalez stated that the case would likely be referred to a grand jury to assess whether the son acted in legal defense under Texas law. Texas is known for its robust self-defense laws, including Castle Doctrine, which permits homeowners to use deadly force if they reasonably believe an intruder poses a threat to their safety. And I will tell you, an ex breaking into your home is not there to make you dinner.
Yeah, exactly right.
You know?
Yeah,
So-
he's not delivering a birthday cake.
Right.
Yeah, that's
You
too
know,
bad.
so, you know,
Another reason I hope this 24-year-old had some kind of insurance. I hope he
hope
had
so. I mean-
USCCA or something to be able to cover his costs just in case.
just in case. And
So
that's the thing.
even in a state like Texas,
Mm-hmm.
even with Castle Doctrine, even when clearly it was somebody who was breaking in to do something bad,
Correct.
there's still the chance that there might be charges. He might get prosecuted.
Right.
I got to tell you, if you're carrying, get some kind of insurance. If you're a gun owner at all, consider it. I think it's important. I
Absolutely.
think it's crucial.
Critical. And I think another really valid, important point, and we talked about this last week, is the fact that where do you keep your firearms when you're at home?
Yeah, we were talking about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, did he say, hold right here, I'll be right back, let me go get my gun? I mean, he had to have it accessible. It sounds like he did. Was it on his person? I'm not sure. Was it staged somewhere in the home? I'm not sure. I know I will tell you, I do have things staged in strategic places. I don't have to go to my bedroom. And
That's another
because
advantage.
I thought ahead.
What's the name that's like is it called the Enigma?
That's
Yes.
one.
So that's, I mean, if you're sitting around in your underwear, you can still have
That's
the
right.
Enigma on, right?
That's right.
You don't have to have
That's absolutely. You
Don't
don't,
need
you don't
a-
even have to have underwear.
Yeah, you don't need any clothes on at all. It goes underneath everything.
That's it.
They should consider, an advertising, campaign with, I don't want anything between me and my Enigma. Like the old,
A totally new definition to your shower gun,
That's it.
there you go. All right, cool. Anything else on that?
That, I just really thought that this really it hit home. I mean, it really, is there anything new? No, but I think that this really just goes to show 2 weeks in a row, recent history, we had yet another case of in your home, you should feel safe,
You should.
right? You never know when evil's going to come your way. This wasn't a burglary. This wasn't some random attack. This was someone that this person knew and at some point had a relationship with, trusted to some degree. You never know when you are going to be in the eyes of someone attempting harm.
There you go.
Yeah.
I'm glad the 24-year-old was okay.
Detectives were saying that it was a long-time estranged boyfriend too, and his behavior had recently become aggressive and concerning. So, maybe they took additional precautions once they knew the ex was being aggressive and got more on top of their self-defense plan. I'm not sure, but it's great that he had his pistol on him.
Yes, it is. Okay, deployment. We like to make activism easy. We want you to know where we need you and where you need to be as an activist. This segment is brought to you by Red, White, and Badass Brew Coffee. That's rwbbcoffee.com. If you use GOR as a code, you'll get 15% off and you'll get some great, great coffee. We were talking about some of the assembly bills that are coming up, and the reality is in the government or in the land of the self-governed, which is exactly what the United States is. Again, it's not a spectator sport. You have to be involved. The price of liberty is vigilance. So we want to make sure that we give you opportunities to get involved, and we have a number of them. And we're not asking for 40 hours a week, but if we just do one thing, this year, if you just do one more thing than you did last year, spend half a day at a tabletop or teach somebody how to shoot at one of our shooting socials, you'll find that it's fun. It's a lot of fun, and hopefully you can fit even more into your calendar and your schedule. But we want to make sure that we give you opportunities that make the most out of your time, because we know how much you're doing when it comes to work and family and all the good stuff. So first one. Train with a national expert. When seconds count, will you know what to do? Even if your self-defense incident is 100% justified, your life can still be turned upside down. Learn from Asad Ayub at his Armed Citizens Rules of Engagement class, which is coming up. It's March 8th and 9th, it's the next week. Knowledge is your best defense. Secure your spot now at gunownersradio.com. Just click the link for Mastering Self-Defense. And we have really good news. A silent sponsor actually found out that Masad Ayub was coming into town and wanted to make sure that everybody had the opportunity. So tickets were $500, and he is actually picking up $300 of the $500. So now what was $500 will only cost you $200, thanks to a silent sponsor that wants to make sure that you have every opportunity to learn from the best, which is Massad Ayoob. So go to gunownersradio.com and you can sign up for his 2-day lecture, March 8th, March 9th. It's an amazing opportunity. So sign up today. And then meet Massad Ayoob at our exclusive welcome dinner. Join us for an evening with Massad Ayoob on March 5th at Discount Gun Mart right here on Morena, with mouthwatering food from Sauced Pizzeria in Pacific Beach. They have the best spaghetti. And their pizzas are so delicious. Everything they make is really delicious. Tickets are on sale, and they don't sell any pho. Tickets are on sale now. Space is limited. Don't wait. Just click on Mastering Self-Defense link, the Mastering Self-Defense link, on the gunownersradio.com website and sign up. That's March 5th. And then we also have a class on March 15th up in Oceanside for all you North County folks. It's Intro to Off-Grid Communications. If you want to stay connected when traditional methods fail, come to this class. You'll take home the skills, practice, and gear so that you can make sure you're connected when the grid goes down. Sign up on the website. The class is $250, which is a steal. It's very, very popular. We've held it before, and it's always full. So sign up now before you lose your opportunity. Tabletops and shooting socials. If you go to sdcgo.org/volunteer, you'll see a number of ways you can help. You can go to a shooting social and teach somebody how to shoot. You can come to work a tabletop where you get to hang out at a gun shop and talk about San Diego County gun owners and give information. It's easy. You're never alone. There's always someone there helping you. We need people at the Shooting Social on March 8th and March 16th. Go to sdcgo.org/volunteer, and then have fun at a tabletop on March 1st at Gunther Guns and on the 8th at Discount Gun Mart. Helps out. Again, do just a little bit more this year than you did last year. And if you did nothing last year, then just do one thing this year. And I promise you'll have some fun. So there you go. Okay, last week we did something we've never done before. The NRA board is up for election, and I'm very excited about the changes, the possible changes with the NRA. They're calling it NRA 2.0. And so we endorse some folks, and we want to make sure that you know that, first off, you have to be a life member of NRA. You can sign up and be a life member right now, and you have to get your ballot in by, I think it's like April. Just get it in by April 1st. It's actually like April 6th or 7th, something like that, but send it in by April 1st just to make sure that your vote's counted. So we came up with a graphic. We have it up on our website. We have it up on social media. We've been emailing it out. Kim Rohde, Al Hammond, David Mitten, Mitzi McCorvey, Paul Babaz, Emery, Jack Hagan III, Kathy Wright, Charles Hiltonen, Frank Tate, Philip Gray, Regis Sinnen, I'm just messing these names up left and right, James, Jim Shekels, Charles Brown, Howard Massengill, James Fotis, Richard Fairburn, Richard Todd, Figard, Jim Porter, Jason Wilson, Jim Wallace, John Richardson, Richard Scott, Emsley, Jonathan Goldstein, Knox Williams, Teresa Inneker, Todd Ellis, and Todd Vandermid. You want to vote for each of these. And again, we have it published, so please, 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 especially if you're already a life member of NRA, make sure that you get your ballot and vote for the folks that we've vetted and support. Thank you so much for taking the time. We look forward to NRA becoming an effective organization again. All right, let's go do everybody's favorite segment, Stump My Nephew. We found out years ago that my nephew is particularly good when it comes to gun trivia. So if you send us a question and it has to do with gun trivia and we use it on air, we'll give you a hat or a shirt. And if you stump my nephew, which is rare, then we'll give you a super duper special prize. This segment is sponsored by Seal One, seal1.com. Go to their website, seal1.com. Cleaning your gun shouldn't take forever. Seal One makes it faster and easier so you can spend more time on the range or just living your life. And now, what everyone's been waiting for, Seal One is finally available in an aerosol. That means even quicker, no hassle cleaning. Just spray, wipe, and you're good to go. But here's an insider tip. Seal One isn't just for firearms. Use it around the house on squeaky door hinges, sticky sliding doors, window tracks, tools, metal parts, basically anywhere that you'd use WD-40, check out Seal One's aerosol. It cleans off rust and grime, and it keeps things running smooth. Try it today. Grab yours now at seal1.com. One and done with Seal One. Sam, how's it going?
I'm well. How are you guys?
Good.
We're
Doing great.
doing well.
Yeah. So we got Dakota's going to read the question here for you. You ready for the question?
I hope so. You really ought to stop saying which is rare about me getting it wrong, because one of these days you'll give me another hard one and I'll screw up and I'll look like even more of an idiot. But
Today might be the day.
Today might be the day.
This one's pretty tough.
Let's see how you go.
All right.
go for
Tyler
it.
from Harriman, Utah asks, The Rifleman was an American Western television series starring Chuck Connors as rancher Lucas McCain, and Johnny Crawford as his son Mark McCain. It was set in the 1880s in the fictional town of North Fork, New Mexico Territory, and aired on ABC from September 30th of 1958 to April 8th of 1963. In the opening for the show The Rifleman, what rifle was fired?
And who is that from? Tyler from what, Harriman, Utah?
Yes.
Thanks for writing in. General request to everyone who listens to the show. Please stop sending me Old West questions. I know I'm not good at them, and I know you know I'm not good at them. I get it. Okay, The Rifleman. I never
Rifleman.
watched it. It was on the television like 60 years before I was born. So I don't feel too bad about just taking a wild shot in the dark, no pun intended.
The
And
Rifleman.
he said it was a long gun?
Yeah. Well, he didn't say. He said it was a rifle. So yeah, it's a long.
He said what
Okay,
rifle
so
was
yeah, it's a
fired?
long gun. Well, it's called The Rifleman, so I would hope so. I'm going to say, I'm just, again, wild guess. I'm going to say Winchester Model 1873. That's probably wrong, but
So close. A Winchester
what was it, a
model,
94?
1892. So
92.
close.
Go ahead
Okay.
and read the.
Yeah,
read the
I wouldn't have got
The-
that.
The program was titled to reflect McCain's use of a Winchester Model 1892 rifle, a historical
Anachronism.
anachronism, as I was coughing, as the show was set in the 1880s, which had been customized to allow repeated firing by cycling its lever action. He demonstrated this technique in the opening credits, as well as a second modification that allowed him to cycle to action with one hand using a technique known as spin cocking.
There you go. You want to see the video?
Sure, let's have it.
All right, there you go. This is the intro to The Rifleman.
The Rifleman. Starring Chuck Connors.
There you go. Okay, so Sam, what blogs do you have coming up?
My latest one that just went up is about executive orders. It's another one of my Sam talks about something boring for 1,000 words blog posts.
That's the spirit.
I need to do a better job of selling these.
I know.
So we talk a lot about
orders
executive
right
orders.
now. That's a really hot subject when it comes.
Yeah, it
to,
is a hot subject.
You know, I don't know. There's this guy
so-
named Trump, and he's starting to do a bunch of these executive orders. So
Yeah, and a bunch is no exaggeration. He passed as many in his first couple weeks in this term as some presidents do in almost a year. So there's been a lot going on. And it occurred to me that we talk a lot about executive orders, especially as they relate to the Second Amendment, because a lot of the time, and I am referencing specific instances here, a president will issue an executive order that instructs ATF to change a definition of something or to come up with a new rule, just on the fly like that, not going through Congress, not going through any of that kind of thing. And so I figured that I ought to give a little bit of a beginner's guide, if you will, to how to read an executive order like a political scientist, except I didn't call it that because that sounded pretentious. It's called how to really read an executive order.
A lot of people get confused between like what makes an EO, what makes an executive order different from a law. You know, I think a lot of people get confused on that. So I'll bet you this will shed a lot of light on that.
Yeah, I talk about that a little bit. And one of the interesting things about executive orders is there actually isn't anything in the Constitution that explicitly says the president can do this. And they don't, in their current form, they don't date back to the beginning of, to when the Constitution was passed. It's sort of an implicit right that the executive is granted by one phrase in it's, I believe, Article 2, Section 1, that states that executive power is in the hands of the president. And so that's where executive orders come from, which I think is sort of interesting how we think of it as such an institution, but it's really something that's just implied. But in the blog post, again, it's called How to Really Read an Executive Order. And yeah, you have to do the eyebrow raise when you read the title. It tells you, okay, don't just read the words on the page and then go, oh, okay, I know what it says. Here are the questions you should be asking yourself when you read it. And this applies to anything, but especially to 2A related EOs. When there's some new piece of gun control coming down from the White House or some other change in the way ATF is working or the way the Second Amendment is interpreted, you always have to be asking yourself a series of questions as you're reading it. What is this being billed as versus what effect would it actually have? And why is the administration interested in achieving this or creating the image that they're doing whatever it is they're doing?
Nice. What inspired you to do this?
Well, as I said, it occurred to me that EOs are big in the news right now, and that a lot of people out there might be getting all their information from just watching television or other secondary sources. And even some people who read an executive order might come away from it thinking, I didn't really learn anything. So
do you see a lot of people getting it wrong, though? Is it occurred to you like, nah, these people clearly don't understand what an executive order is, or you know, because I've seen that. Something news media websites will do a lot, and I say websites, I'm sure television news sources do it as well, but I don't really watch broadcast news. They'll talk about, oh, big new executive order that does thus and such, and then I scroll down and I read the article and I go, no, that isn't what it does. I read it. That isn't what the executive order says. Just read it. So I looked up, Sam, the first executive order. Do you mention that in your article? I don't mention the first one, but George Washington issued some statements that have been retroactively categorized as executive orders. Where we get them now, where we get our conception of them now, is really mainly from FDR. He issued over 3,000 of them. The first, what they're calling, you're right. It wasn't this big, hullabaloo like it is now. It was June 8th, 1789, and the first executive order instructed federal departments, here's the quote, to impress him with a full, precise, and distinct general idea of the affairs of the United States in their fields. There you go. That was the first executive order. Well, awesome. I look forward to reading it, Sam. You always do a great job. We'll definitely get it out there, make sure people can see it, and appreciate that very, very much. No bull, just straight shooting on today's hottest gun and political topics. It's time for the Straight Shooter segment. Okay, there's one thing I really wanted to talk about, and this was brought to my attention by our buddy John Petrolino, the Penn Patriot, the Gabagool Patriot. Love that guy. If you go to riseagainst.org. They have a new study that came out, new research release, permit to carry application outcomes in New Jersey between 2019 and 2024. Our latest study, permit to carry application outcomes in New Jersey 2019 to 24, provides a comprehensive county-level analysis of firearm permit applications across the state. This research uncovers significant racial disparities in permit denials, revealing that black individuals are 10.38 times more likely to be denied a permit compared to their white counterparts when adjusted for population. The study examines the legal and historical factors behind the outcome, shedding light on systemic biases within the permitting process and the need for greater transparency and accountability. I'll tell you what's really interesting about this is the folks who are politically against firearms are usually the folks who are politically very focused on race. And so the fact that gun permits are being denied 10 times as much to the black population in New Jersey, I just think it's so hypocritical. You know, it's given that context, given what we know about the political, playing field, it is so ridiculously hypocritical. Let's see, some of the key findings. Black applicants in Ocean County are 52 times more likely to be denied a permit compared to white applicants when adjusted for population. Statewide, black applicants face denial rates 10 times higher than white applicants. Is that Gloucester and Cumberland counties show extreme disparities, with black applicants being 35, almost 36, and 22 times more likely to be denied, respectively. So if you're in Gloucester, I believe is how you say that county, and you're black and you're applying for a carry permit, you are 36 times more likely to not get that permit than a white applicant. And then talks about statistics. The chi-square statistical test confirms racial disparities are statistically significant with a p-value of 6.32 e negative 10. I'm not going to sit here and explain that to you, but basically what it means is this isn't a coincidence. It's definitely tied. You know, it's statistically impossible that it's just happens to be that way. New Jersey is absolutely denying, or these counties in New Jersey are absolutely denying permits based on the fact that the applicant's black, is really what that indicates. And I don't think that language is too strong. I think that that's really truly what that's saying. Discretionary denials based on vague criteria like public health, safety, and welfare disproportionately impact black applicants. I am so utterly against this. On so many levels. I'm against the fact that they're denying permits, number one. New Jersey is almost as bad, probably at least almost as bad, maybe just as bad as California when it comes to firearms. So on that level, the fact that they're denying people their ability to defend themselves outside of the home is so disturbing to me. But the fact that there are a bunch of bureaucrats, unelected bureaucrats, right? That's the term du jour these days, is they're not elected, and that they're having such power over your right to defend yourself. And they're abusing it, and it looks like the abuse is based on, the fact that the applicants are black. I just don't. It's one of the. This is so disgustingly bad. I hope that it doesn't just get fixed. I hope the people who are doing this lose their jobs. They should be nowhere near power, and I think this is an opportunity to show just how bad the other side is, and that despite what they say when they talk about, I'm talking about anti-guns, the other side being anti-gunners. When anti-gunners talk about safety and helping people and keeping people safe, that it really is just about denying your rights. And that's truly what it's about. And in no way do they have the moral high ground. So I absolutely can't believe that. And I'm glad that John is bringing this to people's attention because this is something people need to learn about, need to hear about. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, I think a good thing for the listeners to understand here too is that when you're thinking about the state of New Jersey, they have something called a firearm ID that you have to apply for before you can even apply to get your carry permit. And the requirements for the firearm ID are the same exact requirements for the permit to carry application. So all of these people who are being denied their permit to carry have already passed the firearm ID application and process. So why were they denied their permit to carry after they were approved for a firearm ID? That's really what this study is kind of diving into. It's not as clear cut as well. Maybe certain people had other, things, in their past that prohibit them. That's not the case here at all. These people all were legally allowed to own a firearm and were being subjectively denied based on the person reviewing the application.
That's amazing. I think that is a really important point. And, that's why when we, when things started to change, when they started to issue, when we got the sheriff to change his policies, and then after Bruin, the standard should be if you can legally own a gun, you should be able to legally carry it. You should be able to get your permit and carry your gun. So, the idea that these are sane, trained, law-abiding gun owners, they're current gun owners. They've done what they need to do to own a gun, which it sounds like it's a lot of hoops to jump through in New Jersey. And now they're saying, okay, you can own it, but you're not good enough to carry it around and defend yourself with. I mean, it just...
Especially considering the standards are the same. The legal requirements are the same. So, yeah, there's something really wrong in New Jersey.
Are there any lawsuits yet?
I don't think there are. That's a good question. I don't think there are any lawsuits yet. I know that John did a presentation at the Gun Rights Policy Conference this year on it, and I know he's all over it. So I don't know. It's a good question. We should probably, there's another guy who's been doing a lot. He's the guy, the riseagainst.hate.org. His name's Ben Shore. And I think after we've seen this and how mad I am at it, I think we should probably have Ben on and talk to him more. I think this is something that deserves some attention. So, all right, wanted to bring that to everybody's attention. Check it out. Go to Rise Against Hate. I keep getting that wrong. riseagainst.hate.org and check it out. It's the permit to carry application outcomes in New Jersey 2019-24. Okay. Speaking of CCWs, the next thing we want to do is we wanted to talk about renewals. Here in San Diego, it's getting to the point where renewals are, there are more renewals happening every month than there were permits issued just like 10 years ago. So we wanted to make sure that there's been a lot of changes. There's been changes in the software and the procedure. There have been changes in the policies. And we want to make sure that you're successful when you go for your renewal. The big solution is, for all these slowdowns, whether it's an initial or renewal, is to get more funding. The reality, though, is that the County Board of Supervisors is full of anti-gunners. Other than Jim Desmond and Joel Anderson, getting funding to support CCW has been really, really difficult. So the sheriff has done a lot of things to make things better. The licensing group has done an amazing job, and one of the ways they're trying to be, that they have made it more efficient, is they've gotten rid of Permidium, and they're now with some in-house software called CCW Pro. So we wanted to show you exactly how to be successful when you renew, and we want to make sure that people understand the steps that it takes, so that there's no gap in your CCW, so you can always carry and be safe. So, okay, so we found out, and I just got confirmation that you can actually start this process 60 days prior
For renewal.
Hot off the press.
Hot off the press. So 60 days before you expire. But what should you do? What does that actually mean? So your first step, so let's say you're 90 days out, okay? You're looking at it and you're going, hey, my permit expires in 90 days. What's your first step?
So first thing you're going to want to do is go in there and create your CCW Pro account, because anyone who's close to expiring now, you guys all did your applications in the old software in that Permidium program. So you're going to need to create a brand new account in CCW Pro, and you have to go through kind of a process that feels like you're applying for a CCW to create that account. And so when you go in and you create that account, you have to submit it, and it's going to come back and tell you that you're approved. That is not approving you for your renewal. That is just approving your new account that you made. So be really careful. You're going to feel like you have to basically fill out the same application twice, and that is the process.
Okay, so step one, before the 60 days.
Before the 60
70 days, 80 days prior, you want to go into CCW Pro and just fill out, you want to create your CCW Pro account, which again looks and feels like you're actually applying, but that's not what you're doing. All you're doing is you're going into the system saying, here's who I am, here's all my identifying information, and then they actually have to, there's a step that they take to actually approve that part, right?
Exactly. They're going to verify that account, and then you can go in after that account's verified, and you'll be able to see the applications and everything that you can do in there. But one note is you don't actually have to wait until 90 days. You can go in and create your account today if you want to.
Yeah, I would say do it now. It takes time for them to verify that account. So
Yep.
once you create it, you've created a profile. They have to verify it and match you against what's in their database. And until they do that, you can't do anything with it.
There you go. Okay, so step one, go create your account. You can do that anytime, but you definitely want to do that before the 60 days.
Yes.
Because that 60-day, that's when your clock starts ticking. So
Yes.
after you've created your account and before the 60 days, the next step is take the class?
Look on the sheriff's website. Look at their approved vendor list. Find a vendor that's on the current list, and don't just. I would caution you against just going to where you went when you did your initial. They may not be on that list anymore, unfortunately. So check the sheriff's current approved list of approved vendors, and then go and take your renewal class. You don't start the renewal with the sheriff. You start by taking the class, and you get that certificate, and then you do your renewal.
And the
application.
renewal class is 8 hours. It has to be 8 hours now.
Yes.
There is a live fire portion.
Yes.
Yep.
And so you go take your 8 hour class. You have to bring all your guns in that you want on your CCW.
Yes.
Yep.
And then you fill out the certificate. Your trainer gives you the certificate with their signature and all your guns listed.
Yep.
And then the next step is
So when you get that form from your instructor, make sure that you read the whole page on the back, that you sign it, you print your name. That's going to go into your application when you apply. So when you go back into CCW Pro, log into your account, you're going to go into the system, upload that safety certificate, fill out a bunch of information there as well, proof of residency, all the things that you did when you applied initially. There's going to be some questions in there you'll have to answer, and you can go to the sdsheriff.gov website and click on the renewal info tab in that CCW portion, and it's going to give you a step-by-step that's super helpful so that you don't do anything in the wrong order. But yes, so you've taken your class, you've got your account, you go back in, you do that application, and then you have to wait for them to approve you. Once you're approved, then you can make the payment. So you're not actually going to pay up front. You're going to wait until they approve that application and see your safety certificate is uploaded in there as well.
But an important point is they now give you 60 days.
Yes.
So you want to get that certificate from the class before the 60 days.
Highly encourage you to do so.
And
Yep.
then on that, when you're exactly 60 days out, that's when you want to upload the certificate. You know, you've already verified your CCW Pro account. So you upload the certificate, complete the application for renewal, because you want the full 60 days. You want to give them the full 60 days to get your permit renewed so that you don't hit a gap.
That's correct.
100%. Right now, they're saying it's taking about 6 weeks for the permit to come back in the mail. So if you wait too close to that 45-day window, something like that, you may actually be expired for a little bit, and you cannot carry if your CCW has expired. Thankfully, you're also not going to have to start all the way over if your CCW expires. They give you a 2-year grace period. So if you've been expired for a little while, don't wait until your 2 years expired, because then you have to do the whole entire process from the beginning, and that's the whole year-long situation we've got going on.
Yeah, so 60 days prior, upload the certificate, and then it'll take about 6 weeks or so. Hopefully that'll improve. And then they'll say, okay, you're ready to go. We need you to pay now. And then you actually pay, and you can look at the schedule online to pay. And after you paid, then it should just be a matter of days, maybe a couple weeks, and you'll actually get your renewed certificate in the mail.
Correct.
And if you do all that successfully and on time, you won't have a gap.
Or very short.
Yes.
Or it'll be a very
Correct.
short gap.
Ideally, no gap would be wonderful.
So let's just recap. So you want to go in as soon as possible. You can go in right now, go to CCW Pro, and just initiate your account, which looks a lot like applying.
And if you don't know how to find CCW Pro, I just tell everybody go to the sheriff's website as if you wanted to apply. You're not applying over again. Go as if you are. It will kick you into CCW Pro.
There you go. Or we actually have a link to it on stcgo.org/CCW as well. After you've initiated your account, before the 60 days, you want to find an instructor who's approved by the sheriff and take their 8-hour renewal class. Bring all your guns in. They will give you a certificate after you've successfully completed the class. When you are exactly 60 days out, to give yourself enough time, you want to complete your application and upload your certificate that you got from your instructor. From there, it'll take about 4 to 6 weeks, and then they'll say, okay, it's time to pay your fee. You'll pay your fee. 2 weeks later, you'll have your permit. If you don't take full advantage of the 60 days, there is a possibility that you might have a gap. You might not have a legal CCW. So please, please, please be efficient. Stay on top of it. I want you to know that they're constantly working to improve the system. It's getting better and better. It's way better now than it was a year ago. It's way better a year ago than it was 10 years ago when you couldn't even get a permit. So if you follow these instructions and you just stay on top of it a little bit, you shouldn't have a gap, and it should be real efficient. The other thing is you won't have to ask a lot of questions. They get hundreds of questions every day emailed to them, and that takes time. And the more time that they have to spend answering questions because people are unsure what to do, or they haven't watched a video like this, the more time it's going to take for them to continue to approve these CCWs. So that's the process. Let us know if you ever have any questions. Email us at Gun Owners Radio or San Diego County Gun Owners or wherever, and we'll make sure to do everything we can to help you. Any parting words on renewing your CCW?
The only thing I'll say that I've seen happen to a few folks is that when you upload your safety certificate, the title in CCW Pro just says safety certificate, but you actually need to upload both your safety certificate and your issuance letter, which is the back side of that same piece of paper. So you're going to upload both sides of that paperwork. Otherwise, they're going to email you and say, hey, you didn't submit your issuance letter. But there's not technically a spot in the application for you to, upload that. So just be mindful when they ask you for that safety certificate. It's both sides, including the issuance letter.
And when they say safety certificate, they don't mean your FSC. They don't mean a firearms safety certificate. They mean the one from the course.
Yep. And again, they're improving the system. They're taking feedback. They're very interested in making this an efficient and good process. So I thank you, folks at licensing and San Diego Sheriff's Licensing. You guys are doing a great job. All the licensing departments, Riverside, San Bernardino, Orange County, San Diego County, they're all really, truly doing an amazing job, and I appreciate the work that you guys are doing. So, all right, there you go. That's how to renew your San Diego CCW through CCW Pro. Thank you so much. Okay, I think that's the show. Anything else? Anything else we want to talk about? Dakota, thank you so much for coming in today. Dakota is also the local chapter leader for A Girl and a Gun. Do you want to talk about A Girl and a Gun real quick?
Sure. I never pass up an opportunity to talk about A Girl and a Gun. So we are a women's shooting league. We are all over the country. There's chapters all over the place. I run the San Diego chapter. We have events at Discount Gun Mart on Marina Boulevard. We have events at P2K Sports in El Cajon. And then we do some other events out in East County, in Alpine and some other places. And we are a full kind of anywhere you want to start, from intro to handgun, never shot a gun before in your life, all the way up to competitive shooter, want to compete, want to come with us to USPSA matches. We kind of do it all. So we'd love to have you. If you're a lady and you're in San Diego or nearby, we'd love to have you stop by. And you can find out more about A Girl and a Gun at agirlandagun.org. You can also find me on Facebook and on Instagram at Dakota Adelphia. And I post a lot about upcoming events and things that you can come join us and shoot, learn something on the range. So it's a lot of fun.
There you go. We're talking about CCWs, either initials or renewals. If you want to learn from the best, Alicia's here. And how do they train with you? If they want to get their renewal or their CCW class through you, how do they train with you?
It's pretty easy. You just go to discountgunmart.com.
There you go.
You can sign up or you can email me, aliciac@discountgunmart.com.
Fantastic.
That's it.
Don't forget to sign up for the Masada Ayub class. Again, we have a sponsor who's actually paying for a huge portion of your ticket. Was $500. He's picking up $300 of the ticket, but it's limited time and it's supplies only while supplies last. So you want to go to Gun Owners Radio and sign up for the 2-day lecture. You might win a GUNZ ETF Suns Out, Guns Out shirt. That'll be a giveaway. I like it.
I like it.
And then we have a bunch of giveaways. These are just a couple, but we also have a Condor. What is that? It's like is that a sling backpack?
Yeah.
Is that what you call it?
Yeah.
Yep.
So a sling
cool.
backpack. There you go. Look at
I
that.
like it.
Fancy.
Yeah. So join us. It's going to be a good time. There's food too, right? At Masada Ayub?
Yeah, the dinner.
Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah.
Dinner.
Okay.
Yep.
And then of course the dinner on March 5th. So sign up. GunOwnersRadio.com. Check it out. And that's it, guys. That's the show. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to comment. And please, please, please share with your friends. Let them know that you're getting all kinds of good information by watching Gun Owners Radio and that we're hilariously funny and, for the most part, good looking. So see you guys next week. Next week's show is actually going to be really, really special where we interview Masada Ayub. He's an absolute legend in the industry. So stay tuned and tune in for that. See you later.